So, of course, I have to start by saying congratulations. I mean,
Thank
literally a project that landed 13 nominations. And of course, your first ever Emmy Award nomination. I always like to start by asking, like, how does it feel? Where were you when you learned about the nomination? Have you celebrated yet? How are you feeling?
I feel very proud. I feel very proud that the production as a whole has been recognised so much. That's a real thrill. I actually didn't know when the nomination date was. I wasn't keeping a track of it. I was really busy working, doing other things, and then my phone just went a bit nuts. And people were messaging me, and it was actually Phil, I think, Barantini, who was the first person to let me know. So I was completely a bit oblivious, just getting on with work. And then I found out. But then when I saw that the project as a whole got so many nominations, I was really thrilled.
And I mean, you hold such a huge key to this, right? Because you are the one behind the amazing casting. Like, that has to be so rewarding for you. Like, I don't want to say without you, none of it would have been possible, but I mean, it kind of is the truth in a way. Like, you selected these individuals, who came in and absolutely blew the mind of the entire world, and everyone fell in love with this series. So, it leads me to ask like a more personal question. Like, when did you fall in love with casting? Because if I'm not mistaken, you worked on the production end before breaking off into casting, right?
I did. So I didn't study film. I didn't go to university and study film at all. I My first love was photography, and that's the path I thought I was going to follow. And then I ended up working as a producer's assistant, and I did that for a couple of years. And then through that, I realized I wasn't a very good secretary. My admin wasn't brilliant. And I love visuals, I love cinematography, I love actors. And I was like, okay, how can I combine these things? And then just through luck, on a production that I was assisting the producer on, I met the casting director. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is a whole world that I didn't really know a lot about, because back then casting was still quite a secret industry. And it sort of still is. It isn't hugely visible. And then my first job was an assistant on a James Bond film.
Mm.
And that's how I started. And then I was an assistant for about 8 years. About 8 years. And then I set up on my own in 2001.
Wow, that's great. That's very interesting path to get into. Why do you feel like casting is like kind of like this secret world? Like, why is that?
I think because it's so confidential. What happens in an audition room, and often the projects we're working on, the material we're working with is really private. We can't really talk about it. So I think therefore the world becomes this secretive world. And for quite a long time, the most visible casting was reality TV, reality casting. And I think everybody kind of a lot of people thought, oh, this is what casting is. This is what casting directors do. And obviously, it's completely different when you're working in narrative and drama, and it's a different process. But I do think that made the craft of casting a little bit more visible, perhaps not in the way that was accurate to the way we work in drama. And now, because people are starting to look at it in terms of awards,
Yeah.
it's a lot more visible. And it's a career. It's a career choice, like all the other departments: costume, editing, cinematography. So I think it's a really brilliant thing that people can now see it as a viable career path.
Yeah, I mean, it was one word that you just used in answering that question, and it was visible,
Yeah.
and it really leads me to asking you about Owen Cooper. He's the big talk of the town. Like, you have created such a expanded kind of like pathway of visibility for him. you are one of the individuals behind, him landing his first ever. He's like the youngest nominated in the category
Yeah.
that he received his bid in, which is huge. So, what was that like? How did you find him? Like, where did Owen come from?
Owen so we did a very wide search. We searched throughout various cities in the north of England because the story was set in the north of England. And the search was very kind of broad. We covered schools, drama groups, youth groups, sports groups, music groups, community centres. We also did street casting. We also, looked at agencies that represented young actors. So it was, and we did a lot of street casting as well. So it was very kind of far and wide. And Owen went to a weekly drama club, and he came through that. That's how we first found him. And then the other, but none of I mean, the main kind of, when we got down to the short list of sort of 5 candidates for the role, none of them had got any screen experience. It was all their first experience of screen, which was extraordinary.
Wow. What was it about him in particular that made you say, listen, he's my one. This is the one. He like, that's it. We're done. The search is over on Cooper. He's our main guy. Like, what was it that stood out so much about him?
I think we really debated the casting of Jamie right from the beginning, right from the get-go on this project. The age was really crucial,
Mm.
but also the sort of resilience and focus of that young person. And Owen displayed in every audition, every sort of stage of the auditioning process, and then the workshop process, just this level of concentration, focus, and confidence that was very rare, I think, for his age and his sort of, his small amount of experience at that time. And this is an unusual production. If it's a regular drama or film, you can do a take, you can stop, you can talk about it, you can do a couple more takes. We couldn't do that on this. So we were asking a huge amount of the whole cast, not just the young cast, which for many of them, it was a massive undertaking. So we needed to be confident that Owen that the stress wouldn't feel overwhelming, doing a shoot like this in this way. And it's kind of extraordinary. He took it in his stride. And if anything, I think he thrived on that. I think the sort of the adrenaline of that was a brilliant thing for him. So it's very, very impressive when I look at the show, because I just think, what he's achieved.
And listen, I know you have a busy day ahead of yourself, but I want to ask another question that I feel like people out there truly would like to know a little bit more about the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The casting director choose their key players, for a project. It's kind of like I'm trying to see like the best way to phrase this question. Is your job over with? Like, okay, we've casted these 13 individuals. The producers, directors, writers, cinematographers, they have it from here. Or how involved and hands-on are you when filming on set?
It really depends on the production. On some productions, casting can continue throughout filming, because if it's multi-episodic, scripts are coming in as you go along, scripts change and evolve, characters get added in, characters get taken out. So often in television, the casting team can be on for quite a lot of the production. With Adolescence, because of the way we made it, we had to get all the casting done before we started filming, because we needed actors for the rehearsal week, the tech week, and the shoot week. And the actors had to be available for the whole thing. That was sort of non-negotiable. So in a way, this was a kind of more of a contained job in a way, because once we were up and running and filming, it's done. However, the thing that I was still involved with was the well-being of particularly the young cast, because we were working with a very difficult subject matter, and that young cast, who for the most part weren't experienced, therefore their families weren't experienced in this industry. They needed a lot of support. So the production and me and my team worked really closely together to make sure that they were supported and looked after throughout that production and then afterwards. And that's something that's continued. So I would say on this production, that was the particular thing that we kept connected on. And then on others, you're often casting throughout filming.
Interesting. My last question for you, and then I promise to let you go. How would you like to see not only this project in particular, but receiving your first ever Emmy nomination? How would you like to see this entire journey reshape the trajectory of your career as a casting director? Like, where would you like to see things go from here?
Gosh, that's a huge question. Um, I just want to continue to work on projects with people that are inspiring to me and on stories that I feel a connection to. And I think that's always been really important to me. I've always been drawn to stories that are often rooted in truth or that I feel a kind of personal connection to. And that's something that I will continue to do in my career. And I just want to work with really good people that stretch me. I think it's really important to keep doing different things, to not sort of get stuck in a groove. You're sort of working on this particular kind of job. It's like I just want to keep reinventing and trying different things and learning, because you never know enough. You can always learn. So just that, really. I don't sort of look at it in any grander way than that.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I
It's a
really
pleasure, and yeah, pleasure.
Such a pleasure and congratulations again. I'm so happy for
Thank
you
you.
and the entire team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.